And we're back. As frequent viewers know, a regular feature of our program is a sort of show and tell, where guests bring in something, could be a book, a photograph, who knows what, but is important to them and symbolic of who they are and what they're about. Stacy, what'd you bring with you today?
I brought my ring, which is a ring that my great-grandmother had. It was actually a pin because she used to wear it around in those days. And then my grandmother put it into a ring, put all the stones into a ring, and then she wore it, and then she gave it to my mother, and then my mother gave it to me. It just keeps me grounded. I wear it all the time, and it's just a very special treasure that I keep, and it reminds me of my family, and family is very important to me.
Probably no matter what you're dealing with on a hard day, you've always sort of got your family right there on your finger.
Exactly,
as it were.
exactly.
And that can really help get through some tough times, I'm sure.
Yeah, it just stabilizes me. I just know it's right there, and it comes from lots of generations, so it's special in that way too.
Excellent. Sister, how about you?
I bought two things. One, I bought a poetry book, and this actually are the poems of Sister Mary Wickham, who I know I dip into night and day, basically. But I think coming from Ireland, I certainly grew up with the tradition of poetry. And there's a great Irish poet, Evan Boland, and she would say, one of her lines was, "I want a poem I can grow old in. I want a poem I can die in," which I've always loved. So for me, there's something about poetry. Maybe it's a bit like a faith journey. It's hard. It's often hard to really give it words, but it speaks to my soul, to my spirit, and in particular, Mary Wickham's poetry helps me give a sense of what today is all about, especially on our journey in mercy. And I find that I'm able to make the links between our history, our story, and what we're about here. And here we are, oceans apart, and we still carry on the work of mercy. And if I can, one of my favorite lines from here in one of her poems says, she's talking about mercy, and she says, "This is a circle that is not a circle in the making, a circle at the waiting, awaiting a response from the onlooker. Each onlooker, the missing arc that completes, makes the circle of mercy." And that's, to me, just such a sense of what the journey and the invitation has been about. And then really aligned with that, I brought a little bit of a brick from Catherine Macaulay's original house. So the one in Dublin, Ireland, that I would pass certainly on my way to college. And I was given this when I finished the ministry on our leadership team. And I love it because, one, it's some of the original brick and stone. And most days I wonder, did Catherine really ever know just how much the ministry and the work of mercy spread throughout the world? Today, we're probably in 35 countries throughout the world, with sisters and partners in mission from all faith traditions. And so I think this tiny, small piece of brick represents so much. And to us at Mercy, we've many cornerstones, where the one in particular that says God's mercy endures forever. I love walking by those. I love reading things. I'm a visual person, and so they just make a difference to me and keep me very connected and grounded, and often very challenged. How is the mercy circle in the making? And what's the role that I can play, that others play each day?
My father would have appreciated the book of poetry because he was a published poet himself. I helped him publish his first book of poetry in 2007. And he's an Irishman from ancestors hailing from County Cork. And I think he would have wanted to see those poems. He would be asking you about that right now if he was here. So, Stacy, I want to ask you about something because there's a story I came across. You went on a flight and you were looking at airline passengers playing games on their smartphones. And that gave you an idea. What was that idea?
So I noticed that everybody everybody on the flight were playing these games. And I thought to myself, I wonder if we could make training and education into a game, because they're so engaging. And sometimes when we're trying to teach people, it can be boring or just a lecture, and people start staring off into space. So I thought if we made it a fun game or try to put gamification types of things into our training, it would make it a lot more interesting. And so a colleague of mine and I put together a game for orientation, because we felt like that was one way that we could get people onboarded and they could have fun and learn about Mercy while they're playing a game. So that's where the idea came about. But then it became a successful way to orient people, and we actually went and did research on it, and we've published an article on it, and it's and gaming and obviously is huge right now in the world. So it was the right path.
Well, you're right on target. People would much rather be entertained than lectured or feeling that they're being educated about something. When I used to teach at Loyola, I used to tell my students, the actor always beats out the academic. So the key is, how can you take that fun part
Right.
and wrap that around the facts and everything you want people to learn. And if you can do that, and obviously doing gaming is one way to do it. Obviously, it's been successful.
Yes, absolutely. It's been very successful. And we incorporate it now in a lot of the training at Mercy. And we've taught our educators how to incorporate it into their training. So it's definitely increased participation. And we even did a escape room for our nurse residents, and they just seem to really enjoy learning that way. So it's definitely successful.
So on the one hand, we've got sort of the technical, we have the video games and virtual reality and so forth to teach people, but then let's switch to the natural. Sister Aine, you had mentioned that you had a strong interest in what's happening to the earth and our climate and our water. Why is that so important to you?
Well, I think there's lots of reasons. I think certainly growing up in Ireland, I literally grew up surrounded by water and the land. My family are from farming background. And so we always considered ourselves country farming people than really city people. So I did grow up with a great sense and appreciation of connectedness to our earth. Our air, our water. I think today it's essential to me. I think not only spiritually a sense of kinship. Certainly, I've grown in my appreciation of that. But I think today, because of human-made climate change, it's just critically important that we're responsive to what's happening on our earth. Water and I have had such a wonderful journey over the years in my ministry. When I was a Sister of Mercy at the UN, representing the Sisters of Mercy as part of our NGO there, the human right to water and sanitation was a really important focus of justice for us. Coming from across the world, really looking at what's happening with people not having the right to water and sanitation, the impact, whether you're in a dwelling place, basic drinking water, sanitation. And again, for us, it was all about walking with the people. Many had been impacted by not only the climate impact on the water, but impacted by mining industries and its impact on water. And it really destroyed people's lives and their livelihoods. So for me, it's been a part of the journey and part of the mystery, because not also in our tradition, water is very much the source of healing and life. And I think here at Mercy in particular, we have wonderful traditions where we've acknowledged water, and we recognise its importance. So I feel really grateful just to have had a sense of the journey in justice in terms of looking at the human right to water and sanitation, but also the desperation and the impact that the deprivation of clean water, sanitation has on people and whole countries and lives.
Were these some of the issues that you were dealing with when you were serving as the Mercy Global Action Coordinator at the United Nations?
Yes. In particular, it was the impact on what did it mean to have the human right to water and sanitation. And again, from the people, whether they were in the villages in Peru to parts of Australia, many impacted when their lands were destroyed or their water taken away. And so we basically were there with the people, looking at how could we not only make visible the concerns and the issues, but then fight for how could we have clean water access and sanitation for the people.
Now, Stacy, in your nursing leadership role at Mercy, you oversee a number of programs that are designed to recruit and retain nurses. There's the nursing extern program for nursing students, the nurse residency program, the clinical ladder program, the care and well-being program. And I find that one of particular of interest, the care and well-being, because it embraces Gene Watson's caring theory through activities like mindfulness and art therapy. Can you tell us about that?
So many years ago, the nursing division decided to adopt Gene Watson's caring theory as the way that we're going to theoretically take care of our patients. And in her theory, she talks about being kind and trusting and meeting people where they are and dignity. And it just married so well with the Mercy values that we thought that this was a perfect nursing theory that could align with Mercy. And so we decided to make it as part of our everyday actions. And in that, we've had programs like mindfulness, or we had a artist come and do art with us and have nurses just take a break, take a breath, do some art. And they would come in and they'd be all stressed out, and then they would do some art, and then they would leave calm and ready and refreshed. And it could be 5 minutes of that, just getting away from the unit and having a minute. And it just flowed so perfectly with what Mercy is all about.
We're getting near the end of our time, and I can't let Sister Aine go without this one particular story, and you probably know which one I'm about to ask you about. A connection of your family to a certain musician, Bono.
I'm not sure it's connection. It might be encounter. I think you're referring to way back when, many years ago. I'd say I was the whole of 15. And I remember my father, he was part of the dairy industry. And they were in the middle of organising a charity run. And they called it the Milk Run in Ireland. And so he came to, at the time, myself and my sister, and he said, oh, I hope you're going to come to us with me to the recording studios. Now, I was pretty busy studying, so I was a little bit like, oh, do I really need to go? And so anyway, I went a bit, with I'm not sure this is a good use of time. So I go into the recording studio, and there was Bono, and I guess Adam, and Bono asked me to hold his coat, and I was like, oh my gosh, imagine I have to hold this gentleman's coat. And I was basically clueless. I didn't really know who he was. And then my sister kind of tuned me up, and she says, Anya, they're famous, So, but that was in the very beginning of their career. And then over the years, Bono actually happened to live in one of the villages right beside where my family were. And so I actually saw him at a school concert, and I was known to be running around with the others looking maybe for his autograph in my 20s or so at that time. And then what was wonderful, Christmas Eve, generally when I would be in Ireland, they would come and play often on just off of Grafton Street. And of course, I had to go again just to, but obviously they have done great work and been advocates for global poverty and really raising concerns. So yeah, I would say it was an encounter, but we always enjoyed, when Dad kind of dragged us off to go and meet these two very now and up-and-coming musicians.
We're down to our last question, and this was actually for both of you. In the course of our discussion, it's pretty clear that there's a strong bond between nurses and the Sisters of Mercy in terms of their shared values, their goals, the work you all do. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Well, what's your thoughts on that connection? I mean, Sisters of Mercy have been nurses themselves, correct?
Yeah.
As the foundation to Mercy, literally starting from our beginnings in Ireland, before the days where they had the extensive training and rigour that we know today. But the Sisters of Mercy were going literally out knocking on doors. And I think it became the basis where the Sisters of Mercy were saying cleanliness is the beginning of healthcare. And that became the start of a really important road for the Sisters of Mercy, knowing it's the only chapter that Catherine Macaulay wrote in the rule that she was writing for all of us, where she called visitation of the sick holy. And so the Sisters of Mercy began years ago, I think, with the sense of nursing care, great tenderness in the care of the sick above all things. And then over the years, grew in tremendous appreciation for education and the importance of education in nursing, but also innovative education. And as you know, here we had a school of nursing for many years, which was of great standard. And it was always connected to the bedside and care. So I think in the care of the sick, great tenderness above all things probably says it all. And they saw it as a vocation and calling. And were thrilled when many came to join them in the nursing field here at Mercy.
And you'd say that?
I couldn't say it any better. I think she said it great.
Perfect. Stacy, Sister Aine, I want to thank you both for your time and candor, taking time out to chat a little bit. And hopefully our viewers enjoyed it as well, maybe learned a thing or two that they can apply to their daily lives. So thank you for watching. On behalf of myself, our guests, the Mercy staff, and the Sisters of Mercy, we wish you good health and humor. And until we gather again, may the road rise up to meet you.